Welcome back to Quack Fab. In today's episode, we are going to modify the front of my 91 C1500 to accept Brembo brakes and rotors off of a Gen 5 Camaro. As you can see here, I got an LS-based engine with a 4L80 trans behind it. So I'm going to have a lot more go. If you got a lot of go, you're going to need some more woe. And these little anemic 11-inch brake rotors aren't going to do it, especially with the stock one piston brake caliper. So my plan is to do more Gen 5 Camaro parts in the way of these front 4-piston Brembo calipers. So this is a stock piece. I actually got both front and both rear calipers off of eBay for like 300 bucks. What I got going right now is this rotor right here is a rotor and hub, which means it fits on the spindle with bearings. It bolts on. It don't come off like the 5th gen Camaros do with just a rotor with a hat, you know, and a hub. So in order to make it work, I got a hub from Little Shop Manufacturing, but nobody really makes stuff that fits on 91 and earlier, or like 91, 90. I don't remember exactly the years. I'll look it up and put it on the screen. But you got to get a spindle for a 92 and up because they have a thicker spindle, and they also have a wider brake rotor. The factory brake rotor on the 91 C1500s is only an inch wide. And these are the light duty brakes. So that's why everybody upgrades them. But I mean, they make big brake kits, but they're like thousands of dollars. And that's just for like the front. I'm trying to do brakes for the entire thing for about $1,000. That's where I'd like to be. As you can see here, another issue I have with this is that because I've got the independent rear out of a Gen 5 Camaro, the lug pattern is 5x120. But the stock lug pattern on a C1500 is a 5x5 inch, which is like, I don't even know what the millimeters is. But this spindle come in a 5x4.75 inch pattern, which is really close. It's like 5x120.65 millimeters, which is off by just a little bit. So I intend on making some hub-centric spacers out of polycarbonate with a 3D printer so that I can make the wheel center up on them. But as you can see right here, that hole is not big enough to fit that. And that's where I need it to fit. So what I'm gonna do is take my plasma cutter and I'm gonna 3D print one of these out of polycarbonate or a hat of some kind. And I'm going to take my plasma cutter and burn out the middle of it. But what I'm doing today is I'm trying to figure out my kerf width so that I know exactly how far to measure it with a micrometer. And that way I know exactly the size to make a ring that'll fit kind of like this. And then, well, I'll show you when I get it done. But that's what I'm working on today. All right, so first thing I want to do before I try to fit all of this on there is I want to get a measurement of how far this wheel sticks out. Because if I stick this new stuff on there and the wheel sticks out more, it's not going to work because it's already right at the edge of the fender. But we'll get this wheel and tire off, put a straight edge on it and mark it on the floor. Then I'll swap it out for this spindle and this hub. And then we'll measure from that hub mounting surface and add the thickness of that rotor on there and see if it moves the wheel out or in. All right, so I took this ruler here, straight edge, put it right across the face of that mounting surface, and then I marked a little mark right there on the ground, and that's going to be our mounting surface. All right, we got the new Little Shop spindle on with the eBay 2-inch lowering spindle. I had to get a different spindle. These are actually already 2-inch lowering spindles, but they're for the 91 and earlier, which means that the brake rotor itself is only like an inch wide, and also the spindle on it is not as long. So no one makes stuff to fit that. Well, hardly anyone does, and if they do, it's expensive. So it was actually cheaper to buy a new set of 2-inch drop spindles for the 92 and later OBSs, because the spindle shaft is a little bit longer and it fits the bearing spacing of these hubs. They actually came with these cool little billet caps that fit on them, but I'm not going to put that on there now. This is a permanent, and I barely put any grease in there, just enough to skim the surface so it wouldn't create any galls or anything. I really got to pack the bearings and get it installed right. This is just test fitting. But now, let's put the measuring stick up against it to see if we gained any distance or if we lost distance. There we go. It's flat up against there. Look at that. I marked the, last time, I marked this side. So that means we gained almost an entire inch of inward distance, which is, we need it. Even if I take off the thickness of that rotor, which is like 8 millimeters, that's still more than 3/4 of an inch in that I gained, which is awesome. I really needed that space to clear the fenders. Now we got to get that rotor to fit on this hub, and currently it won't because the inner diameter won't fit around this thing right here. So I got something planned for that, and that's coming up. All right, so I got the hub installed, the spindle installed. Now all I gotta do is make that rotor fit the hub. And I made this with my 3D printer. This shows you where it's gotta fit. It's like a hub-centric ring. And this shows you that that rotor's not gonna fit without some adjustment. So, I had called some machine places to find out how much that would be to get them machined, and they were talking like anywhere between $50 and $100 a rotor, which makes it like, meh. I got some tools in my garage, so I think I can figure something out. Last year I built this plasma table using plans from JD's Garage on YouTube. It cost me about $500, $600 to build it, plus the cost of my plasma cutter. So what I decided to do was make a ring that'll fit inside that hat, and it can guide my plasma cutter end around on it so that I can nibble away and make that rotor fit that hub. So I drew up a circle here in Fusion 360, and I'm going to export it to my cutter and get it cut out. All right, so I plasma cut this little piece out. I took my grinder and grinded up and cleaned up the edges a little bit. Then I fit it in here, and then I take my plasma cutter and I put that on that edge right there and just burned it all away. And I can take that out of there. So I took my rotor and I cleaned it up a little bit with my die grinder. And then I brought it over here and mounted it on this hub. And I put my dial gauge on here. And looked it up. The side-to-side run-out tolerance is allowed to be 6/1000. Now I'd imagine I couldn't find a tolerance for up and down. I know it's supposed to be hub-centric, but what I did was I put it on here and I got it as close as I could. And then I adjusted it and I made a mark right here. You can see my little blue mark, so that whenever I put this rotor on, I'll probably engrave it in there or something, or probably just check the run out every time if I have to remount them. But basically, when I hang the rotor with this pointing straight up, it has the least amount of run out. So that's, my plasma cutter didn't exactly cut a perfectly circular centerpiece there. So also I had to grind out the dross and stuff off of it. So anyway, hanging it up like that got it to where it's within spec. Now I got my first fit up here, and see it's touching And this right here is touching, so I'm going to need to cut this off. I already cut these little ears off that were right here. But at the bottom you can see it's out way too far, so I'm going to have to cut off probably a significant chunk of that. All right, I got it hung in there pretty much where I want it by ratchet strap at the moment, but I had to cut all that metal off of it to make it fit. But what it's going to do is the bolt that's down there, I'll be able to drill through here, put a spacer on that side, and this one bolts straight to the spindle. And up on the top here, if I can get a shot of that, you can see this bolt hole's right here. It'll actually be back a little bit, that's too far in. But I'm going to make a metal piece that'll fit here and go down here, and bolt into here, and then bolt into down there. But I'm going to have to do that on the next episode because it's already 3 o'clock on a Saturday, and I usually got my video posted by now. I got to go in and start editing. I'll give you a quick peek of what the wheel will look like. And there you go. That's with the wheel on it. You can see that the Little Shop dust cap sticks out where the other cap's supposed to be, but I don't think it looks bad. The only issue is the back doesn't have one of those, so I'll probably paint those black to camouflage them a little bit. But that's it for this week's Quack Fab. Next week I'll finish up mounting those brakes and get the rear brakes mounted too and show you what it takes to do those. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment. Any questions you got, any suggestions you got, I'm happy to take them. They actually came with these cool little dented up billet cap that I just dropped over here. I got to get it. Just knocking everything over. But now we got to get that rotor to fit on this hub. What it's going to do is that bolt, where are we at? There we go. Well, that's not going to help. Thanks for watching Quack Fab.